Ideas. Okay. Interest towards NLP. You're an Indian living in Romania, Thailand. Any settings you need to check? Netherlands. Excellent. Theme of the webinar. Yes, Rajesh. I mean, you're going to see the whole NLP conference online in a couple of months. So webinars, and this is the future way to go. Hi, Ayush. Hey, Hisham. How are you? Curiosity. Excellent. So let's begin, just to be conscious of time. Some of you are here out of curiosity. Some of you are here for NLP. Some of you are here to Disha, which says channelize energies via creativity. So let me start by sharing a personal story. How this webinar came about. Why did I decide to do this webinar? I was at a very stuck place about three to 4 weeks back, because 3 to 4 weeks back things really started happening. Good thing was that I had just stopped traveling. I had my back-to-back retreats, and then I came back to Bangalore. And the moment I came back to Bangalore, the whole thing with coronavirus just started happening, and it just picked up. And so when all of that was happening, I was feeling really nervous. I was feeling anxious. I was feeling stuck. I was feeling chaotic because I wasn't really sure what's happening or what was going on. There was the whole thing with the conference where we weren't able to, finalize a venue because no hotels would give us venue till the coronavirus threat is gone. I had a retreat in Himalayas and in Switzerland back to back, where we had a lot of people from Europe coming in, and so many different things happening, and I wasn't sure what's still going on. And sorry, just a moment. Hey, Abhinav. I think the volume audio is working fine now. So, is everyone able to hear me? Okay, I would just check your audio setting. Maybe just check your audio setting and see if that's working fine. Okay, excellent. So I felt quite stuck, and I felt quite chaotic because I wasn't really sure what to do next. I mean, suddenly everything is stopped. So the first step that we did was to kind of started shifting the programs. Right, we had the whole practitioner program for 7 days, and we said, okay, let's see what we can do. So we came up with this interesting structure where we would have some sessions online, and then we would have some sessions offline, and then end with a retreat structure. And so, okay. Sorry, just hold on, guys. We still have. So if you guys are having audio issues, since most of the other people are able to hear me well, you could check your mic. Sorry, the speaker volume. It might be on mute. Also check it on the Get Response platform. Increase your phone volumes. So do one of these things, and it should be able to work. Yeah, or what Varun suggested, try and open a YouTube or something, see if you're able to hear it, and then you will be able to fix it. Good. Brilliant. So going back to, so I felt quite stuck and I felt quite chaotic. And then I recognized that there have been many times in my life that I felt the same thing. There was this whole period in my life in 2008 where I noticed that I felt the same, where I was in like my third year of my college, and that was the moment I had decided that I'm going to quit college to focus on thought labs and focus on NLP. And so I was a teenager, right? So I just decided to quit college, and I did that. But then I didn't know what was next, and I wasn't really confident of running workshops, and I wasn't confident of running programs, and so I felt again stuck. There was this whole time where for 2 months I had to go and live at my friend's house because I just didn't have enough money to pay rent. I had to go live with with two of my friends for a couple of months till I could make money. And similar experience happened again in like 2014, 2015, when I was doing a lot of NLP programs, and then there was this surge of NLP trainers in India, and then there was this whole people offering 10 certificates and 4-day programs and 2-day practitioner programs, and none of that made sense. And that got me to kind of reevaluate what was really going on with me and what was really happening. So and so I recognize that this is how I felt often, and this is how I felt from time to time, where I felt stuck and I wasn't clear of the future. I was feeling really uncertain about what future had. And what I also realized that there were almost always in all of those three experiences, some of the most amazing things came out in my life. So when in 2008 I was stuck and I didn't have a house to live in, and that happened because I wasn't really confident of running a program. I mean, I was 18 years old, and I felt like, would people take me seriously? So what I thought was that I would do something that's not as intense as a practitioner program, but do something really smaller, like a foundation program. Now, at that time, not a lot of people would do like a 2-day foundation or an experience program. I was one of the first trainers in India to start that, which was something new, something innovative, and something creative for me, which I see like most of the people doing that right now. But that was a significant moment because that became a bridge that allowed me to shift from being stuck to moving towards what I really wanted to do in life. And the similar thing happened in 2014, 15 when there were so many different trainers coming in. That was also the time that I was focusing on mountaineering, and me climbing mountains gave me such a powerful experience, and I decided to kind of start clubbing it together. And that's where the whole retreat structure came in, which still most people in the world doesn't do the experiential retreat in Himalayas and Switzerland and stuff. So that was another breakthrough moment. Again, it came out of crisis. It came out of me feeling stuck, and 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 now we have coronavirus, where I felt this uncertainty, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And we've kind of come up with this whole new amazing online program, which isn't like a practitioner program, but which is like a transformational program where we experience transformation and growth for 30 days. And we've got together some of the most amazing trainers like Wimla and Matt, who are on this call right now, and Michael. And it's one of the programs that I'm really excited about, which is something really unique and something really different. And so what I started recognizing was that in all of those instances where I felt stuck, I came up with something new that was completely innovative and something completely different. And so I felt that, you know, a lot of significant moments in my life, a lot of significant innovations, a lot of significant creations in my life came out of crisis. And so crisis is something that you kind of embrace. And that's where I started developing this whole webinar, because I thought that if everyone can experience that, then there would be everyone can experience that creativity within, then that would be one of the most important resource to have. Because right now we are kind of in a state of uncertainty and kind of in a state of crisis. Right? We don't know what the future looked like. We don't know how long this is going to go, how long the world is going to be still. It could be for a month, it could be for a couple of months, or it could be for a year. We are nowhere close to a vaccine. Even if we are, it takes 2 years to get there. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and so certainly we can say that there is the whole world is having this shared experience of crisis, which also means that the whole world has the opportunity to experience breakthrough. And that's where I truly believe that states like creativity, flexibility, these are some of the most crucial and most important states that you can experience in life. I mean, specifically in times like this. Yes, there are other states, right? To be calm, to be composed, to be happy. These are also important states. But the thing about those states are that those states are still, they don't give you momentum. Those are the states that gives you, okay, now I'm calm and I'm composed, but what next? But states like creativity, states like leadership, states like courage, flexibility, these are the states that allows you to move forward. And history suggests that. Like there are so many examples in history where you've seen that people who come out strong from crises are the people who have made conscious choice to be courageous. People who have made conscious choice to 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 feel free and to be creative. I mean, some of the names that I can share are Viktor Frankl, who was in a Nazi concentrated camp. I'm sure most of you know about him, right? His situation was much worse than us, but when he came out on the other side of that experience, he came out being stronger. He exercised his right to feel free. And he was really creative in terms of focusing on his purpose and writing his book and his journals and his notes. And so that allowed him to come out of the crisis really strong. We have Nelson Mandela, right? I mean, when he came out of the prison, he could have been angry and he could have been upset. But instead of that, he decided to be creative. He decided to be resourceful and focus on doing good and focus on making a difference. I mean, there's if you guys have seen this movie, The Big Short, it's the movie about these four guys during the times of the financial crisis of 2008 bet against the market. And so it was unheard of, right? No one in the history of stock market in America or pretty much anywhere in the world has bet against the market. But those guys saw something that was unique. Those guys saw something that wasn't available for, that most people didn't see. And that's pretty much the definition of creativity, right? To see something that's different, that's unique, that most people on the planet doesn't see, because if everyone sees that, then that's not creative. Creativity comes from finding the difference, noticing something unique. And that's what those guys did, and they made a fortune out of it. Now, I'm not saying that's a great, I mean, for them, it's a great thing, obviously not for the people who lost a lot. But to really come out on the other side of this, being resourceful, it's important that you tap into your creativity. Does this make sense so far? I mean, being creative and flexible is the most crucial thing that you can experience and that you can tap into right now. And what we're going to do is spend next 40 minutes experiencing how do we tap into that creativity? How do we tap into that flexibility, that resourcefulness, so that you can get to where you want to get to, so that you can be the person that you want to be, and you can achieve extraordinary results no matter what happens on the outside, no matter what happens for next 2 months, 3 months, 10 months, 15 months. Does that sound good for you guys? Good. Brilliant. Now, I would love to keep this is not a traditional webinar for me. This is not just me talking. I love engagement, and we're going to do some activities and exercises. We're going to go through certain processes together and really experience some of the shifts in terms of creativity and being flexible. And so I'd love to have that conversation going between us. I'd also find it very useful if you don't have a book and a pen. Maybe I'll give you about 30 seconds to find a book and a pen, because we're going to do some activities. Also, if you if you can open a notepad on your laptop or get something. Also, having a beverage, not alcoholic beverage, because then I'll lose you. But if you are able to get a water or coffee or something, that would be really useful, because that always helps you relax and be more in a learning state. Right? So I'm going to give you about 30 minutes, not 30 minutes, because then the webinar is going to be over. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Why don't you go and grab your pen, paper, water, and get ready to do some processes and exercises. Right? So take that 30 seconds. Once you have it, just put it in chat that you're ready to do that. All right? Okay. Brilliant. So good to go? Excellent. Brilliant. So the first thing about tapping into creativity is also, before I start, if at any point of time, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box, and then I can take all the questions at the end of the webinar. And also, Mahek is making a request that if someone can share the activities in the chat box, so if one of you can do that, that would be great, because I think she's not able to hear. Here. Excellent. Thanks, Laura. Brilliant. That's why I love people who are Indians who are in Romania. Good. So one of the first things to recognize in all the experiences that I shared, right? The 3 experiences that I had with Nelson Mandela, with Viktor Frankl, with the guys from Big Short, everyone who is able to be creative in the times of crisis really has a strong purpose. Like, they have extraordinary sense of purpose. And so the first thing to know is that creativity comes from purpose. I'm going to put that down. Yeah. Sorry. Never mind. Yeah. So creativity comes from purpose. Because imagine that when you feel stuck, and if you don't have a strong purpose, then you don't have any motivation to really find new ways or different ways to do that. And so one of the most fundamental structure of creativity is that, what's your purpose? Why are you doing something? Now, here's a quick structure. So the first question that I would ask you is that, what's your purpose? Right? When you are going through this time of crisis, what's your purpose for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the next couple of months are? What's the strong purpose that you have for yourself? And if you don't have it, then what could it be? Right? Because if you don't have a sense of direction, then you will not have motivation to be creative, to find new ways, to find different ways to do something. So does that make sense? So I would say that maybe take about 30 seconds again to just really think about that. What's the purpose that you're working towards for the next couple of months? And when I say purpose doesn't mean your goals, right? So my goal was to do an NLP program in April. That's the goal. But that goal is not possible right now. But my purpose is to make a difference, right? And so creativity comes from the fact that how can you chunk it up to a level where you can make it possible. So I will take you through the process of that. But the first thing is that what's your purpose? So maybe take 30 seconds and think about what could be the strong purpose that you could have in next 2 to 3 months. And yes, you can share it with us in the chat box, like Rajesh. Yes, to keep yourself and your loved ones safe and secure. Excellent. I'm sorry, Dilshad, that you're not able to log in to the webinar. I mean, you logged in, but I'm sure you're not able to hear it. Anyone else? And this webinar really works if you do this process and exercise really. Just take those book, take those pen, and start scribbling, because otherwise it's just going to be intellectual. It's something that you heard, something that's great to hear, but nothing would come out of it. So to really get something out of it, get those books and pens out and start typing. And so some of the things are, Amina says to be healthy and want to conduct effective training sessions. Excellent. That's my purpose. And to help people deal with anxiety and stress, stay mentally healthy, not just survive, but thrive, build something new, learning to give back. Excellent. You guys are amazing. Brilliant. So the trick in being creative is to focus on your purpose. That's the whole structure of creativity. That's the whole structure of innovation. It's not to focus on your goal. You would get stuck if you keep focusing on your goal. Like if I had kept focusing on just doing my NLP program, like the regular practitioner program, and I would have gone like, okay, social distancing, I can't get people in closed rooms, it's not possible. And I would just sit. But the creativity comes from chunking it up. So think about some of your goals that you probably had in next month or 2 months that you can't do right now, that you can't experience at this moment. So maybe just write down one goal that you had, that because of the current circumstances that you can't experience or you couldn't do. Okay, certification, how to earn money online. Excellent. Brilliant. Now, when you think about that goal, chunk it up. And so to chunk it up, the question to ask is, what's the purpose of this goal? So getting back to like 3 weeks back, I was stuck. I was stuck because I couldn't do programs. But then I asked myself that what's the purpose of doing programs? And the purpose was to make a difference. I really want to contribute to make a difference, but also make sure that the revenue keeps coming in because I have to sustain. And so that's what I really wanted to do. It wasn't about doing the program, but it was about making a difference. And it was about making sure that the revenue comes in. And so I asked myself that what are the different ways that I can get to that point? And that's when creativity starts coming in. That's when all the newness kind of starts kicking in. And that's when we started coming up with all these different ideas and all these different programs. And that's where the whole Ultimate 30-Day Online Transformation Program came out of crisis. It came because I wasn't able to do what I would normally do. And that's the structure of creativity. Right? So step 1, think about some of the goals that you haven't been able to do. Step 2, ask yourself, what's the purpose of it? And step 3, what are some of the things that you could do to achieve your purpose? Because your purpose is important and not your goal. Does that make sense? Another important learning that I experienced was that sometimes being forced to change is important, because only when you're forced to change, something new can come out of this. I would have never come up with this program if I wasn't forced to change. Like I would have just done my regular programs, and these are the kind of programs I've always thought that I would do, but it's something that I just kept procrastinating. It's just something I never got on to do. And so to think about the idea that how is it good for you that you're being forced to change, right? So that could be another question that you can answer, that how is it good for you because you're being forced to change. Exactly. And maybe again take about 30 seconds to just kind of start uh, answering this question. That how is it good for you? And then share it with us in the chat box. Let's see. Yeah. So, honey, so you want to make use of the time at my best level? Yeah, because now there are so many things that you could do, right? With the time that you have, you could have better budgeting. Yes, being more resourceful. You get a new perspective. Uh, when you're forced to change, you're listening to other people. Yeah, definitely coming out of comfort zone. This is something I'm experiencing for sure. Yes. Oh, excellent. You're starting an online program in April, which is something that you wanted to do. Brilliant, right? So when you're forced to change, you get this whole new perspective. And that's one of the most fundamental structure of creativity. To do something out of your comfort zone and to do something different. Right? Does this make sense so far? Yes. Okay. Brilliant. The next step is that, you know, we grow in two different ways, right? We can either grow through pain and suffering, or we can grow through insights. Either ways, no matter what we experience, we still grow, right? So insights are suddenly this awakening or this genius idea or some of those things, and suddenly you get this powerful insights that allows you to grow. Or you go through forced change. So that's what we say, you grow through pain or you go through suffering. And I'm sure that all of you have had this experience at some point in your life, that you would have experienced where you felt stuck or you experienced something traumatic, but you learned so much from it. You learned exceptional amount from it. So you grow from either through being stuck or through insights. At this point, from where we are at on this planet, we are growing from being pain. Or we can't exactly call it pain, but we are growing from being stuck, right? We're growing from being pushed out of our comfort zone. Now, and this is one of the most important insights, or one of the most important experience that I've had in the last couple of days. So we live in this world which is made out of this unconscious rules. I mean, we live in this world which is literally constructed out of unconscious rules around us. These are the rules that you get from your upbringing, from your society, from teachers, parents, from religious beliefs and political beliefs and marketing, all of those things. But there are these unconscious rules that kind of starts forming. And I call it unconscious because most of the time you aren't aware of these rules, right? Most of the times you don't know what these rules are, and you just naturally operate from these rules because you've learned them over a period of time, right? Now, some of these rules are really useful, like, rules like, for now, social distancing. Like, it's an important rule to which would help us survive as species, or at least which would bring the world together metaphorically. But it would help us stay safe and stay healthy and make sure our family is healthy. So it's an important rule to have. Not killing someone, it's an important rule. I mean, it's a rule that helps us live in this civilization. Uh, but we also start forming some of the rules that holds us back. Going back to the first story in 2008, when I felt stuck because I wasn't confident. But one of the things that I also realized is that, me quitting college was one of the rules that I let go of, because finishing college to me was something that would happen because of society, but it didn't add any value to my life. It didn't give me anything. So it's the rule that didn't make sense to me at all, but I was just doing it because it was just something that I was supposed to do. It was just something that everyone else is doing, and so I'm just doing for the sake of doing it. And so I decided to let go of that rule that was holding me back, and suddenly there was this whole new world of possibilities that opened up, this whole new different space that opened up. And so uh, and so it's important to recognize that what are some of the rules that are holding you back. And why is it important to recognize? Because here's what happens, right? When you feel stuck, it's usually a sign that you're holding on to some rule in your life that's not serving you or that's not helping you. So every time you feel stuck or unresourceful, that's your unconscious mind telling you that you need to be aware of some of these rules that are not helping you. Does this make sense so far? Okay. Brilliant. Does it make sense to everyone? Because this is pretty significant insight. And why is this important is also because you being able to tap into your natural creativity comes from you letting go of these rules. Because the more you hold on to these rules, the more you're going to stay stuck. And creativity comes from not staying stuck. It's the opposite of staying stuck. It's about looking at the world differently. And so if you keep looking at the world the same way that you always have, then you're not being creative. And so it's an interesting process, right? Because every time you feel, and it's a feeling, we say we feel stuck, right? We feel uncertain. So you will have a sensation. Go within and check that what are some of those rules that you're carrying on in life? What are some of those rules that are holding you back, that are not useful for you, that are not serving you? And how can you let go of them? Because the moment you let go of them, you open up this whole new space of creativity for you. You open up this whole new array of this world of possibilities for you. Does that make sense? So what I'd like to do is, again, take about 30 to 45 seconds and maybe 1 minute. This is really important. And then become aware that within this current circumstances or current context or current situation, what are some of the rules that you're really holding on to that are not useful? And maybe list them down in your book. If you're not comfortable, don't share it with us. If you are comfortable, please share it with us. But just recognize and put them down in your book. That what are some of those rules that you're really holding on to that's not serving you, right? So just take about a minute and just put them down in your books. Yes, yes, Joe. It's not an easy one, definitely, but it's an important one. Yes, an example of that is that you having a work from home policy. Absolutely. Yeah. What is, I mean, to share from one of my example, one of the rules that I dropped was that I can't make a difference to people online. I mean, I knew that I could make a difference, but I always thought that I can't make a really impactful difference like the way I do in the retreat. That can't happen with the online program. The moment I dropped this rule that I was carrying because of how I've experienced things so far in my life, the whole new world of possibilities of programs that opened up, and the new program that just come up, it's extraordinary. The whole new world of creativity opens up. The question is, are these rules or beliefs? It could be both. They could be interchange. Most of the rules would be beliefs, but not all beliefs could be rules. So it's something that you just explore and understand. But they could be both. There are rules that are same as beliefs, and vice versa. Good. So have you guys done this? And of course, you can't figure out really all the rules in 1 minute, but it's for you to just experience it, because I'd love for you to know. Because even if you recognize one rule that you can drop right now, that would be a huge, huge, huge experience and huge win for this whole webinar. And then you can take more time later, right? Just take some time out and start recognizing, because the moment you start letting go of these rules, the moment you start doing that, the more you will open up for the possibility of creativity, because automatically you will start seeing the world differently. You would start seeing the things differently. Yes, absolutely. Like Andlib says, I'm afraid to take risk. That's a rule. You drop it, it's also a belief. You drop it, you can open up to new ideas and new possibilities. Good. And you might not be able to get all of them right now, but take time out after the webinar, or take time out later, where you can really explore and start letting go of them, and then notice the shift, notice the experience that you have. And this interlinks with beliefs as well, like Vineet had mentioned, right? Depending on the beliefs that you have about the world, that will decide how you get results. That's a significant point. Like if you believe, just as an example, that if you believe that this is the new world, this is how life is going to be from now onwards, and nothing's going to change, then you will make decisions in life based on that. Probably you'll give up, or you'll prepare to do everything online. I am working from the belief that this is all going to be for next 2-3 months. So I'm still continuing to work on conference with that belief that after 3 months it's going to be okay, and we will be able to do conference properly. But well, that belief may not be true, but it's a belief that's helping me right now. It's a belief that I'm excited about. And so it's also important to recognize those beliefs that you're holding on to, and the beliefs that you carry decides how you experience results in these times of crisis, how you allow yourself to be more flexible, because the more rules and the beliefs you have, the more stuck you are. The more you let them go, the more flexible you can become. And one of the points that Matt brought up in the chat was that it's important to do ecology check, which is absolutely important. Yes, check that what is ecology check is to make sure that your surroundings are handled. If you suddenly take on a belief or suddenly let go of the rule that going out is okay, I mean, going out is not okay, and you let go of that rule and you start going out, that's not a really ecological thing to do. So always make sure that you're doing an ecology check when you're letting go of your rules and your beliefs. Does it make sense? Varun says that I don't know how to put out full-blown compositions of music. Yeah, it's a rule. I'm sure you know, and if you don't, I'm sure you have the resources to figure it out, and so you can pull out a full-blown compositions of music. Absolutely, brilliant. Good. So I hope you guys are doing this with me. You guys are doing this process and exercise together, because that's where the difference is. That's where the shift is. Good. And so moving on to the next bit, where, one of the things that Matt says, right? A rule that is useful in certain contexts, but not in others in your life. So learn to drop in context, which is an important point. So, when you're letting go of some of the rules, maybe it's useful somewhere else. So notice that where you want to let go and where you want to keep them. And so that's also a definition of flexibility. How can you be flexible? Huh? So moving on, just being conscious of time, moving on to the last bit, which is something that I call as reframing. Reframing is one of the most significant ways to help yourself be flexible and creative, to experience that flexibility and creativity all the time. The way you can reframe things right now is to ask yourself something similar that we asked earlier, that given the current circumstances and given the current situation, how can this be good for me? And when I say good for me is what good can come out of this. I'm not saying that what's happening in the world is good, but how can this be good for me? So for me, like creating this online program, that's something that's good for me. For me, in the 2014 example, when I kind of started doing more experiential work with retreats in Himalayas, I noticed that the results were excellent. And so even though I was going through crisis, what came out of that was really good for me. And so to really reframe things, the question to ask is that how can this be good for me? And to also explore that what are some of the things that you can do now that probably you have been procrastinating. Like for me, doing online programs consistently is something I've been procrastinating, but it's something that I can focus on right now. And so the second question to answer is that what are some of the goals that you have in life that you have been procrastinating, that you haven't done, but which is possible now? Maybe it could be writing a book. Maybe it could be reading 30 books. Maybe it could be taking on online courses on Coursera or Udemy, working on yourself, maybe learning cooking, anything. But what are some of the goals that you can focus on that you didn't do earlier, but that's something that's possible right now? And that's also one of the most effective way to reframe. So 2 questions: how is this good for me? And really answer them. And when you answer that question, it will also allow you to be creative. So let me rephrase that. When you answer that question after dropping your rules, it will really open up the world of possibilities for you and allow you to be really creative. So it all kind of ties together. It all kind of fits in together and really well. And the second question is focus on things that you haven't done that is possible right now. Right? So maybe take 30 seconds to think about some of those things and put it down. Good. And maybe when you're done, just share it with us. Good. Doing a webinar session. Excellent. Anjali, writing more articles, reading more books, complete a few online courses, which you have not yet completed. Big yes. Yes. Excellent. Sharpen some skills. Brilliant. Yeah, so prep for your PCC credentials. 2 years. Yes. Google certification courses. Brilliant, right? There's so much good and so much amazing things that can come out of this. It's just brilliant. Yeah. The thing that also happens is that when you reframe, you kind of allow you allow yourself to be fully motivated. You allow yourself to have those motivation juices flowing rather than be stuck. This is also, for some of you who knows NLP, this is also what we call towards thinking. You're focusing on what's possible for you rather than focusing on where you're stuck or what's not possible, right? So it allows it'll give you this newfound motivation. And when you tie in that with the purpose that we created in the first part of this webinar, then you really feel like you'll wake up in the morning feeling really energetic, like I'm sure that you had those times when you're just waiting to wake up and get to doing stuff that you're passionate about, and that's exactly what would happen. So as you see that all of this kind of ties in together, find your purpose, chunk your purpose up, chunk your goals to purpose level, then identify different ways to experience your purpose. Then identify some of the rules and beliefs that are holding you back. That's kind of getting you to feel stuck. And then reframe. Look at things that get your creative juices flowing, that gets you to really strongly feel motivated. And when you do all of it together, it's going to be an amazing, extraordinary experience. This whole thing would be a life-changing experience. Does it make sense? So far? Good. Okay. Brilliant. Excellent. So I'm just curious to just kind of understand, where you guys are at right now after following a lot of these structures. What I will definitely do is put this into a document and share it with you guys so that you guys can practice it later. It's going to be like a workbook style, so you can just fill in the details and fill in the answers and practice it. So I'll share that with you. But I'm just curious that at this point, do you guys have any questions, anything that you would like to explore? So I did notice one of the questions that I'm going to try and find, which Bala said that how to let go of unwanted strong feelings from the past, which stops you from focusing to the present and future. It's a very big chunk question, Bala. How do you let go of a really strong feeling? So there is a lot of things that can happen. But one of the easiest thing that I have learned to do is focus on what's really happening right now. And that allows you to let go of a lot of unwanted things. So what do I mean by that, right? If you just focus on what's important right now, in this moment, you'd say that, yeah, you know what, you're getting food on your plate, uh, you have fresh air to breathe now, you are able to be part of this community experience and be part of this process. And so, and you would survive. You have your projects going on and you have your things going on, which is what you're focusing on. This is what your present is. The farther you move away from present, the farther you would have those strong emotional experiencing and those strong feelings, right? So the farther you move away from, if you start thinking about, let's say in the past, this happened and that happened, then you would have those strong feelings. If you start thinking about farther in future, 2 months down the line, everything is uncertain. Will we still have groceries? What if people hoard everything and I won't have anything to eat? What if I have to clean the house and cook every day? This has to continue. Then, when you start thinking about 2 months down the line, then it's still kind of give you that strong, unresourceful feeling. But if you just focus on now, focus on next 5 minutes, focus on tomorrow, then you would start feeling much more resourceful. There is a whole different thing that I could tell you about letting go of unwanted strong feeling, but we'll kind of have to have a whole different webinar for that. So for now, I won't get into that, but what would be useful is to focus on present. All right. Anything else? It is okay. So Bala says that it is an autopilot mode. It just happens to be there, and that's when you can. It's like Viktor Frankl says that as human, one of the things that differentiates us from other species is that we have the capacity to make conscious choices. We have the capacity to really think about what we want. And that's why one of the significant learning has that he says that, he said that about concentration camps, that, they can do all this bad things and all this torture and all this horrible things, but they cannot take away his ability to respond to those things. He always had the capacity to choose how he wants to respond to no matter what happens. And that's the same choice available to us right now, that we have the capacity to respond the way we want to. We can respond with freedom and courage and creativity and resourcefully, or we can respond, like I said, being in autopilot mode. So I would say that start practicing to respond in a resourceful way, in a conscious way. The whole purpose, I was going to share about this later, but the whole purpose of us developing this 30-day online program is to practice your ability to transform yourself every day, right? Because the 30-day program, so there is a link available on the top. So if you're curious and interested, you can always click on the link and go get the details. But just to share the basic structure, we do daily practice. Every day we have a exercise, we have a experience, we have some insight that you're going to live for the rest of the day. And then you do that every day for the next 30 days. Because I feel that transformation and change is a process, and it's not something that happens in one day. It's something that you practice. At least deep transformation is a process. And that's why I am really excited about a program in a long time, and that's the program. And we have this amazing sessions throughout the course of the program. So it's something that's going to be definitely useful. But just to answer to Bala's question, that yeah, it's something that you can practice daily, but practice it consciously. Oh, okay. Disha, your question is, the world is changing around us, but acceptance is hard for many people as of now. Any way, strategy to foster acceptance towards change? I would go back to reframing, because the moment you start looking at change as an opportunity, then it would become much easier to accept it. If you keep looking at change as something that's not good and not useful, then you would feel stuck and you wouldn't be able to accept it. But So that's why the question that I asked earlier, how can this change be good for you? And that's the way you would start accepting it. Okay, Nirmit is asking how to drop off rules that are with me as part of my upbringing society. You will be living in the same society. I mean, that's a tricky one. The answer to that for me is that I it takes courage. So it takes courage. It's the thing is, the moment you start dropping off rules from society is the time you start living life on your own terms. Then you're not living life on others' terms. And so that's why it's important for you to live life, for you to take charge of your life and to take control of your life, and still live in that society. Yes, I mean, and it takes courage, and it takes a lot of acceptance of self. So I would start with that. That how can you start accepting yourself, and how can you uh, start taking charge of your life? Okay, brilliant, excellent. Rajesh, the question is, what outcomes do you envisage? I'm assuming envision from this 30-day program. Well, the outcome for me is to really create deep transformation for everyone on different aspects of your life. So it could be overcoming limiting beliefs. It could be connecting, influencing. How do we tap into creativity? How do we recognize our core patterns and then change them to be at our best, to really significantly make a huge difference? But the key for me is to have that daily transformation, because imagine that you're daily taking your life to the next level, and each day after day, you're recognizing your core patterns, taking it to the next level, core patterns, taking it to next level. And for me, that combined with the powerful, we'll have 12 powerful sessions that's going to be taken by different facilitators. That's just going to take your take your whole experience from personal growth and professional growth point of view to the next level. And so that's the outcome from the 30-day program as of now. Okay, so Varun has a question. I made a list of things to do during the 3-week break, but pretty much slept through the first week. How do I get myself to do it? Like, I'm just being aware of time. So considering lack of time, I'd say that just get up and do it. Or I'd say join the program. But find your purpose. I mean, that's the real answer. Find your why. Because if your why is strong enough and if you've got that strong purpose, then like I said, that you would get up in the morning feeling motivated to do those things and not procrastinate it. So start with why and find your purpose. Okay, brilliant. Okay, this is going to be the last question because, again, conscious of time. So I'm just going to take this last question. I have a couple of personal goals and professional goals, and I'm not sure how to prioritize personal growth when to prioritize professional growth. So you're not able to focus on both simultaneously. Right now, my answer to that is one, that focus on understanding what's stopping you, because when you're prioritizing one thing over the other in any given moment, that's because it's giving you something more. Just to take an example, I need to finish a blog and I also need to watch Netflix. Now, finishing blog is important to me, but I end up sleeping or watching Netflix all the time. And how does that happen? So I would say that again, chunk it up. So the first question that we asked, that what's the purpose of this? Now, what's the purpose of finishing the blog? Because it allows me to express myself, express my truths, and allows me to connect to the world. Whereas Netflix, what's the purpose of watching Netflix? It's because I experience fun. And it's an important aspect of my life, fun. So fun is important and expression is important, and both are important. And so then what I do is I slot in time for both. Here's the time when I'll have fun, and here's the time I will express myself. And when I do both, then it allows me to have that balance. So the answer to the question is that focus on chunking up to purpose level and then operate from there rather than focusing on task. Because when you chunk up at the purpose level, then you would naturally just do the tasks. Good. Okay. Okay. Last questions. Nothing comes without a love for your society. So how do you develop that love in ourselves during the crisis? You've kind of answered the question in the question. Start with love from self. I mean, I think naturally crisis brings people together. I think naturally I've seen exceptional amount of love and care. I mean, people are literally caring for each other. And even though they're not able to meet, but they're connecting online, I've seen like an army of people putting out messages outside to say that if you need to talk, call me. All the coaches giving free sessions. So there's just so many people out there to help and support. So I would say that's a good start. I think crisis naturally brings people together. You just kind of allow it to happen. Don't you think it's important to also have a sense of timeline? Yes, definitely. Timelines are important part. I would just say that build those timeline keeping your purpose in mind rather than your goals in mind. I'm not saying that forget about your goals. Keep your goals in mind, but what's important is purpose, because when you're able to do that, then you're focusing on what do you really want out of life. Good. We kind of have overshot by 8 minutes. I mean, I did say 60 to 75 minutes. So I'm going to just pause here at the moment, but I hope that you guys have had an amazing session. I hope that you're going to practice the different aspects of this session and take time out to really answer those questions and allow your creativity to flow. And also to let you know that we're going to start our online program in a week's time. So if it's something that you would love to be part of, just let us know. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm sure that all of you have my email ID. It was lovely. You guys are such an amazing and engaging group. So thank you for being here and thank you for being part of this session. And I look forward. I mean, we're mostly going to do next session in about 10 days time, which is going to be on developing empowering habits. Because if we are in a lockdown for a long run, then us developing empowering habits will become one of the most crucial element of us surviving, of us thriving. And so that's what's going to be our next webinar. So hopefully I will see some of you on that webinar. And also, if you would like to experience a certain webinar, like you said, on acceptance, on timelines, on anything, just share it with me. Just let me know and we'll see what best we can do to build those sessions for you guys. And if there's anything else, just get in touch. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. And hopefully I will see some of you in future. Take care. Bye, guys. Thanks. Thank you. Bye. Brilliant. Yeah, I'll see you in October, Tony. Hopefully for the conference. Yeah. Hey, so yeah, thank you. Thank you.